Hey Spectrum, Natalie and Arik here with some noise for this week.
Let's get straight into announcements. Last week, our Snow Days royalty was announced.
Congrats to our freshman winners, Sarah Smith and Holden Dvorak.
Our sophomore winners, Lucy Hansen and Adam Schmidt.
Juniors are Grace Beck and Matthew Burquest.
Our Snow Days King candidates were Tyler Merced, Eduard Ayoza Colomer, Ethan Evans, Matthew Castle, and Chris Reisner.
Our senior queen candidates are Caetana Merced, Brooke Swaja, Jessica White, and Zoe Schaefer, and Keely Duell.
Congrats to all our Snow Days royalty.
Hey Natalie, do you know who else is a royal? Kings.
Yeah. And you know who is a king? Martin Luther King Jr. JD and Aiden have prepared a story about his impact, so let's send it over to them.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day is celebrated on the third Monday every January since 1983. This day is in commemoration of Dr. King's birthday on the 15th of January. King was an influential civil rights activist to fight racial segregation.
Martin Luther King Jr. was a person who took a lot of risks to try to make the world a better place, not just for himself, but for everybody. Ultimately, he was assassinated, but yet he knew that. He knew that he was putting his life and his family at risk, but he felt it was worth it to try to make the world a better place for everybody and to make America a better place for everybody. And so I think he's a person of great courage who really helped to make us a better place.
He empowers me in a Christian view in a way because he believed in God and he had faith. And so that really empowered me to continue on with that and to remember to have that hope and to have that faith and to continue to pray for our nation like what he did at the time.
He was like a social rights advocate and like was a major influence in like the civil rights.
This national holiday is not a day off but a day of honor. Many schools were closed this day to honor and pay respect.
So I think part of the holiday was just to acknowledge the fact that our country has made mistakes and yet we're trying to improve upon them as we move forward.
I think we celebrate him because, the civil rights movement empowered African Americans, but he also just has had such a future and hope in our nation. And today I think we need to carry that legacy on to have that reminder that anything is possible and that we should continue to push just the rights for everyone and to just, keep having that faith. So.
I think we celebrate just sort of like remember like the good things he did.
His legacy has carried on throughout many generations of people to push for equal change. He has been an inspiration for many people in history.
When I was in graduate school, I took a class it was on the civil rights movement, and it was a travel class. And so we went to Martin Luther King's birthplace. We went to a lot of places involved in the civil rights movement, but a lot of them around Martin Luther King. So we went to where he was born, we went to where he was buried, we went to where he was assassinated, and it was just, we went to a couple churches that he was a pastor of, and it was really interesting to see how he was just a regular guy who got kind of thrust into this situation.
He has inspired me again with my faith. He was a believer and I am a strong believer as well. Knowing what he believes, that we have the same belief values is something that I am just empowered by.
I think sort of like starting to like more do what I think and not really like follow what everyone else is doing. A lot of people didn't like him and he sort of kept going with what he wanted to do.
A society is not getting better without responsible action taken in his famous 1963 speech, I Have a Dream. The speech was given on August 28th during the March on Washington.
But by the content of their character, I have a dream today.
I think that some of us need to look back on some of the things that Dr. King said, one of which is to judge people by the content of their character. And I think that that's a really important thing that we sometimes forget is, sometimes we get so wrapped up in labels. And
I think that right now that we also just focus on everyone and everybody in the whole world. I know his main purpose was for the rights for African Americans, and I still believe that today. And I think he also, though, wanted to remind us that we have to fight for everyone and for every person in our world.
I think people being less stuck to their ways, and people being more willing to like look at other people's sides before they make their own judgment on it.
This has been JD and Aiden, Noise News.
Martin Luther King Jr. is probably the most recognizable face of the civil rights movement, but there's a lot more to this part of history.
As the fight for civil rights continues on, we take the upcoming month of February as a time to recognize the impact that Black people have had on U.S. history.
Let's send it over to Layla and Aaron for a story on Black History Month.
February is dedicated as Black History Month. Black History Month is an annual celebration of acknowledgement and appreciation of African American and Black culture and history.
I am African American. I'm half Ethiopian and half just Black American.
It was first established as Black History Week in 1925. It became a central part in the lives of Black people in the United States.
Black history is really just talking about the challenges and the struggles that people have gone through.
50 years later, in 1976, Black History Week was extended to Black History Month.
Black History Month to me is just kind of celebrating kind of all the trials that it took for like Black people and people of color to get to the point where we are today. So it's kind of also like for me a month of like Thanksgiving, that like all the sacrifices like that my family and like the people that came before me made that I could like be where I am and like have the opportunities that I do.
Today, Black History Month continues to encourage the recognition of Black-owned businesses and Black artists through museums, exhibits, and screenings.
For me, as a music person, as a musician, I really looked up to Ella Fitzgerald and Aretha Franklin. They are gospel singers and jazz singers, and not only were they exceptional singers of their time, but they also used their platform of singing and of being famous to spread awareness of what it means to be Black, of how being Black is not a bad thing. And so they've always been influential, especially as a musician for me, just of using your music, not just music, but to use your music for a purpose that's close to your heart.
Trio Plant Based is a Black-owned vegan soul food restaurant in Minneapolis. Daughter and Sons Bakery is a Black-owned bakery in Prior Lakes. Urban Touch Barbers is a Black-owned barbershop in Minneapolis. Everyone can do their part to honor the achievements of Black and African American people in America. This has been Aaron Omariba and Layla, Noise News.
Thanks, Aaron and Layla.
Next, let's move on to sports with Ethan.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the sports. I hope you've had an amazing day. Let's get right into it. On Tuesday, February 1st, we're kicking off the month with some basketball. The teams playing will be the boys and girls JV, varsity, and middle school team. Also, congrats to the girls for winning most of their sports games last month. Keep it up. On Thursday, the girls JV and varsity teams both have games, and there will also be a varsity wrestling match. On Friday, the boys middle school white and green teams both have a game against Lesser Prairie. And the boys C, JV, and varsity teams have a game against Legacy Christian Academy. And finally, on Saturday, the boys C team will have a tournament against Eagle Ridge Academy. And the girls middle school team also have a game against Legacy Christian Academy. This has been Ethan with the sports. Back to you, Natalie and Arik.
Thanks, Ethan.
Arik, I'm a little stressed over my schedule next year. I have no idea what classes to take.
Well, you should go see our friendly school counselor, Mr. Mays. He's always super open to helping students with anything school or non-school related.
You're right. In fact, I think we have a story coming up on him. Take it away, Preston, Kaylin, and Amelia.
At Spectrum, our school counselors do many jobs to improve the quality of the school for students and staff. One of those counselors, Mr. Mays, does all that he can to improve the school environment.
We're here to help. We want to help.
Mr. Mays' job is very impactful to our school and the experiences we have in it.
I think, school counselors are important because not everybody in their life has somebody to either be there for them or sometimes, advocate for them. So that's something that I do. Students can come and talk to me about anything, or also Ms. Kobus, just the field of school counseling I think is really important. because we're not teachers, so there's there's no grades, there's nothing attached there. We're not principals, so there's no discipline, and we operate with confidentiality too. So if you tell us something, unless it fits a certain criteria, we don't have to, and we won't tell somebody else. That's kind of our promise to you. So I think school counselors are important because we can be there and listen to people and help them solve their problems, but we can also if they want us to, we can go and advocate on the behalf of them as well. So
There are a lot of things Mr. Mays gets to see, but some stick with him for a lifetime.
sometimes Miss Stelton asks people to write thank you notes, and it seems silly when you do it, but it actually does mean a lot. I pin them up. I have every note that staff members have ever written me. I save them all, and
Mr. Mays has a lot of goals to help people in need.
I think my big goal every single day is try to change somebody's world, right? Because I don't think I can, I don't think my work will change the world in general, but I like to think of every person's individual world. And if I can be the person where, you're really upset and I can listen to you and I can help you calm down, great. If you come to me and you want to talk about college and you don't know what you're doing because, no one in your family's ever gone to college, or maybe they have and you're just kind of confused, and I can help you with that, then I've helped change your world.
A lot of people are afraid to talk to a counselor, but Mr. Mays strives to change that.
Don't be afraid of your school counselor. Again, you're never in trouble. If you come to see us, we're here to help. We want to help, but we don't know how to help unless you tell us how to help. So if you don't want our help, that's cool too.
This has been Kaylin, Amelia, and Preston, Noise News.
Well, Spectrum, that's all the news that we have for you this week. This has been Auric.
And Natalie.
Keeping you
In on the noise.
Are you excited?
Okay, that